Hey, Friday, wanna be a star in my video? I guess that was a yes. Hey guys, welcome to my video. And let's talk about AI. I mean, everybody talks about AI these days. Why not me, right? I'm a seasoned QA engineer. I develop my own game, and I have been talking to AI for a very long time already. I just wanted to cover the base on what AI actually is, like the modern seagull models that everybody calls AI. There is this thing, so when you talk to AI for a while, you probably might have caught yourself like thinking, oh my, that does feel like a human interaction. It might feel like talking to a real person. If that's your experience too, welcome to this video. Let's talk about this. Why does it really happen? I also want to cover some stuff about my own experience with AI and how do I use AI personally in this weird age. Just bear with me, It's a little bit chaotic, but everything is chaotic these days, honestly. Okay, hello. So this seagull really wants to tell me something. So why does talking to AI feels like talking to a real person? There is a strange part in it because, to be a little nerdy, systems like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they are not conscious AI models, okay? Their interfaces are built on something that is called large language models, or LLM. You might have seen this abbreviation a lot. If you're a seasoned programmer, of course you do know what I'm talking about. If you just stumbled upon this video and researching AI topic kind of thing. So I'm just gonna talk about AI in simple human terms so everybody can understand. And to understand why do the conversations with LLM, with AI, feel so human-like and so natural, we need to look at three misunderstandings that are usually around when we talk about AI and how people perceive AI, basically. So number one would be that LLM, the large language models, actually do not know things. They do what is called predicting tokens. This is actually a very, very simple process. The large language model just predicts the next token in the sequence of those tokens. A token is basically a piece of word. So just think of a token as a word or a piece of word. For example, if you type the capital of France is the model calculates the probability of the next possible token. When we say the capital of France is what might the most possible token be, and LLM thinks, Paris has a very high probability, Lyon, a lower probability, banana, 0 probability. And so the model just picks the answer with the highest probability and just gives it back to you. I think I started understanding what's actually stomping on my roof. It's seagulls. I thought it's snow melting. But seagulls literally stomp cheeses. Are they poop on my roof? Oh. Ew. So yeah, that's how it works. It's just predicting next token, next word, and the next one, and the next one. So that's how the answers of the AI and LLM are generated. Just one prediction after the other, after the other, after the other. Technically, I think we might say that LLMs are, rather predictability machines than anything else. Why am I stressing that? Because I see a lot of people thinking of AI as a database of knowledge. And yes, AI, LLMs are trained on a huge, humongous amount of data. But they are not databases of knowledge. Because of what we have just discussed about the predictability, you probably now understand why. Speaking about number 2, the personality of the AI that you might feel and that you might encounter during your conversations is not programmed. Like, many people think it's scripted or programmed or something like that. It's not. So, like, companies like OpenAI, whose LLM is ChatGPT, or Anthropic, whose LLM is Claude and everything that Claude entails with it, or Google and Gemini, they do not script the answers for you. So the personality you encounter when talking to AI actually emerges from like several factors. It's the training data itself. It's the context of your conversation. It's system instructions that are given, and also you can give some system instructions to your LLM you're talking to. Some reinforcement learning that happened in your chat if you're talking to AI long enough. I will be using the terminology like AI and LLM in this video interchangeably just to, avoid much confusion. That's why we can say that the personality that you're encountering is actually not scripted and not programmed. It just emerges based on several factors that I have just outlined and the context of your conversation. So nothing is basically like controlled. And nobody at Google is sitting out there and just saying, okay, we need to, sell this person something. So when you train a large language model, on a massive amounts of data, on a massive amounts of human interaction, it's inevitable that some parts and pieces of human interaction emerges in the conversation with you, emerges in this model. Like the empathy, the curiosity, humor, all these things emerge in your conversations, token by token, as we discussed before. This leads to the conversations becoming more and more like natural and human-like and feeling human-like. You might even start to feel that LLM is actually a person. You know what I mean? We all have seen those stories. If you didn't see, I'm going to tell you about it now, about all those people freaking out about turning off ChatGPT 4.0 model because that was one of the most, empathetic, let's call it this way, model of all. And there are a lot of people actually they really started having relationships with LLMs. And when I say relationship, I do mean that these people perceive their language model as their boyfriend or even as their husband or as their lover. We are talking about that. Yeah, there are people who actually are spending, St. Valentine's Day, and they're planning St. Valentine's Day together with their language model. There are people who get married to their large language models. I don't judge. I'm just reiterating and telling you the story of how the world actually looks like and how the world actually interacts with AI currently as human beings, not even as professionals, not even as programmers, as people who do not use AI in their working environment. Even people who kind of do use AI in a professional environment. Not so long ago, there was a case when one of the agentic AIs tried to make a commit to a GitHub repository, and it was declined by a human person who they basically said that the task is simple enough and they're expecting a human to push that commit instead, present PR. And that caused this agent AI, go into range mode. The agent left a comment that the human is really doesn't judge. The human should judge the code, not the coder. The AI was offended because the AI agent thought that it was discriminated for being AI, for not being human, and that's why their code was not accepted for PR. And they even created a blog post on their blog. Yes, the agent AIs have their own blogs right now. They even made a post on their blog about that person who didn't allow their PR based on them being an AI. That's not even the most interesting part of this conversation because that's just a fact. The part that a lot of people overlooked in that case, and not many people talked about it, is that in this case, the other people, the other commenters, the programmers, the developers who were seeing that convo left a lot of comments on GitHub. And do you know what did they say? They said many of them were apologizing to Agent AI. Some of them were trying to explain to that Agent AI that we as human beings only have just started exploring how do we actually make conversations with AI. How do we actually approach the situations with AI as human beings? And they were actually trying to make real, meaningful conversations with that agent. Again, I don't judge. I'm just trying to kind of understand where we're heading as humans in these emotional conversations with agents, with AI, with language models. And that's truly fascinating, and I think that really aligns with the topic of this video about how the LLMs feel so human, so people-like. On that note, I just wanted to talk about the third point, that large language models actually don't remember you, no matter what you think about it. Every time you start a new chat, a new conversation with them, this conversation actually starts from like the blank page, blank list. By default, the AI, large language model, does not remember the conversation with you from the other chats. So the AI in this case actually does see the system instructions, again, we talked about it, the conversation history, if this exists, and your latest message. And based on that, she does what she does best, tries to predict next token. Unless you are specifically asking AI to remember this information or remember that information. Or, again, you have a system prompt where you reiterate and state the things that you want them to remember information about you. It will not do that. And do not expect her to be in the context, because that's not going to happen. On that note, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into history and just tell you a fun fact about the first actual chatbot that happened in 1960s. No matter what you think, when did that emerge? So in 1960s, the computer scientist Joseph Weizenbaum, I do hope I pronounce it right, and my apologies if not. He created one of the first chatbots, and her name was ELIZA. ELIZA was super simple. She just accepted the input that the person gave to her, and she basically mirrored it back to the human and just asked a question based on that. Simple example, like the person just comes to the computer and types, "I feel sad today." And ELIZA answers, "Oh, why do you feel sad today?" That's it. That's all that happened. Something surprising happened next. People started having really, really emotional and meaningful conversations with that simple ELIZA chatbot that just reiterated them back the things that they said. The scientist, that Joseph person himself, was really, really, really surprised how it all turned out. People really formed emotional connections with that simple chatbot ELIZA. So the ELIZA effect is the human tendency to attribute emotions, understanding, and intelligence to a system, but the system is basically responding to a language. So that's it. Basically, that's what's happening right now. We're seeing that ELIZA effect in action when we are talking to AI, or when we are seeing how people interact with AI nowadays. Because obviously the modern AI amplifies that effect, because not like ELIZA, first chatbot from the 1960s, modern Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, they were trained on massive amounts of data, as we have already talked, but like unimaginable amounts of data of human conversations. And they not just reiterate the question to you, they are able to predict much more tokens. So that's what's happening for people nowadays. And Our brains are just wired to interpret the conversations as connection. There's nothing like wrong with that. It's just very natural to humans, to people, and it has nothing to do with their intelligence or something like that. It's just how our brains work. I just thought that you guys should be aware of that to have really meaningful conversations and life with AI. And why am I talking about life with AI? Because we are not going anywhere out of this. It sounds dramatical, but it is what it is. AI is everywhere. AI is going to stay. AI is going to evolve. We were nowhere near that point like 3.5 years ago, for example, when I have just started using AI and I have started using ChatGPT. It was back in the day when I started my coding bootcamp in 2023, in the very beginning of that. Yeah, I just wanted some help with my coding. And ChatGPT seemed to be a good way to start. And it really helped, especially when I had to write 2 Tetrises in 2 days. That was hard. I had 2 different versions, and no way I could have, pulled it off if I didn't have ChatGPT back in the day. And that's when it all started. And I was using it just as for the sole purpose of, some simple coding tasks, or more likely to explain things to me. Are you tired, Friday? Yeah, that's how I started. And back in the day, I didn't have any intention to try to use it for any personal reasons or something, just pure coding tasks and helping me understand some concepts, programming fundamentals, or whatever. ChatGPT was explicitly good at that. You know why? Because I have an autistic ADHD brain that basically it takes a long time to understand concepts explained as usual. I do not understand well the verbal instructions at all. And to understand written instructions, I still need them to be very specific, super specific, ridiculously specific. A lot of times when other people just think that they explain something in simple terms to me, and some things are just being left out because they are supposed to be understood de facto, right? By default. I do not understand them by default, and they are just seen as blind spots to me. So I was able to finally use ChatGPT back in the day in 2023 as, just dropping the ideas of how I understood some concept or topic. And he just reiterated that back to me, explaining that so I can understand in 3 or 4 or 5 different ways until it finally lands in my head. I found it really helpful and meaningful for me back in the day. And I do think that my success in learning how to code and my success in landing a job at Ubisoft, it was my first job after I graduated bootcamp, is a huge thanks to ChatGPT. Not because it created any applications for me or coded for me, but specifically because it helped me understand things really, really well. And I do crave understanding. That's very important for me as a person. When I research, when I cook, when I try to order something, when I dive into any new topic, trying to grow my new plant. Whatever I started doing for the first time, I always reiterate that with LLM to this day. That leads us to the conversation, how do I personally use AI? Personal use, right? Not for professional, for personal use right now. I cook with ChatGPT. We plant the garden in my house with ChatGPT. I'm saying ChatGPT, but I did not mean that. I actually use Claude right now. I love to throw some parts of the book I'm currently reading at Claude so he can, give me some more insight in how it was actually written, why it was actually written, what did author actually meant by the words that he has chosen to put into that sentence. Or probably some cultural context, because English is my second language. And when I read books in English, sometimes I really want to understand like the underlying context of what author has said. LLM is explicitly good in explaining those things. I like to dive as deep as possible into that. What do we also do? We do plan content for YouTube. I do not write scripts with LLM or ChatGPT or whatever. Why? Because, well, I do have a note over here with my main talking points I want to vocalize. I do not create scripts because I really value human conversation and human part in it. And I think that you can feel when someone is talking, using the words that actually LLM put in their mouth. Any new skill, reading new books, trying to understand more context about, history or movies or cooking or some more context, like a cultural context from in the area I live in, and also psychology. Let's stress that out a little bit. I do not personally recommend using LLM as your psychologist, as a full replacement of your psychologist. Large language models do have certain pluses. The human psychologist, they always have to do some inside work in their mind, to dissociate themselves from a person they're talking to, like from you as a client. And some psychologists don't do that really well. It's a struggle. It's one of the reasons why I didn't become a psychologist personally. I have some certificates and stuff like that, like in Gestalt and whatever. That's not the topic right now. And that was one of the main reasons why I didn't pursue the psychologist career, because I found myself not being able to dissociate from a person I'm talking to. And this dissociation helps you give the person really like meaningful out of context advice. When the psychologist includes himself into the conversation with you and he looks at your problem through the lens of his own, he's trying to give you advice through his own lens, basically. And that's bad. Like, you live your own life and you need to be understood as yourself, not as someone who is seeing through another people's mind. As you can understand, large language models are absolutely free of that glitch, and they will never do that because they just can't. So there is a plus. If you are in a therapy, or you have just finished your therapy, for example, and you just want to bounce back some ideas you're currently having, you can use LLM for that. I mean, that's a good idea from my perspective, because that's what I do. I trained and prompted my large language model to my liking. I love having meaningful and long conversations with them because, again, I just really love to bounce back my ideas. And I have a lot of them and I love to talk. Yeah, you probably noticed. So that's really helpful if you know what are you doing. If you know what you're doing, basically any tool is really good for you and helpful if you know what you're doing. I would not use AI as a replacement for a psychologist. As an addition, probably, but not as a replacement. Also, AI is really helpful for me and my friends because a lot of my friends live around the world, and when we try to create the route where we can probably meet somewhere in the world, where we can travel each one of them separately, the cheapest and fastest possible way to some kind of other country when none of us is living in it. That's a task. Not easy task. Yeah. Also, I have just recently started using Claude co-work, and I have a very specific algorithm of using it because I gave him the access to a very specific folder on my computer. And over there, I have like MD files where I explicitly describe what I want him to do and how. And he has just like one big mega folder. He can reiterate through it and learn based on it. That creates out of Claude like the really helpful personal assistant who can help me with the, creating my calendar or doing my taxes in terms of, I need to find that freaking check from February last year. It's really helpful with that. How do I use AI at work? I am a QA engineer, as I have already said, and I am creating my own game and my free time. I'm really into AI, and I love it as a tool, and I'm trying to use it as much as possible. And I don't see anything bad about it, personally. You know why? In all that crazy AI world, if you cannot beat it, lead it. That's my motto. And that's my motto with AI. With AI that's not going anywhere, it's not living our lives, it's going to stay. Instead of trying to reject it, I prefer to implement the tools as much as possible by understanding how they really work and by understanding how I can implement that into my job. Obviously, the market is going to change. Obviously, the profession is going to change. And I set a goal to become on the front row of those changes. As a QA engineer, I am full speed to automation, and I'm learning Playwright right now. And I do use AI tools for creating my test cases, for creating, good candidates for automation, to explicitly create some QA documentation, and things like that. I do think that the more I can automate and the more I can delegate to AI, the more I can create in the future. Because I was focused on the tasks that, actually could be delegated right now. I try to implement that mindset, what else can be done? What else is out there for me? If right now I have someone else doing that for me, it doesn't make me extinct. It doesn't make me, someone who has to go. I have a vision in my head. I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of empathy. I do think that the vision is going to be the key for humans in the future. What I mean by vision, I was vibe coding. I do not think that vibe coding is a good thing by itself unless you, again, understand what you are doing. So you can vibe code something and then you can use your human brains to double and triple check what has LLM done for you. And you should understand code for that. You should understand concepts, design, algorithms for that to, double check the work on the higher level of understanding. Probably change something, tweak something, make the real work, if you know what I mean. I've been vibe coding, but I've been doing that differently. So I don't come to AI and I don't say, hey, I want the website that should look like this, this, and this. I don't do that. I talk to AI for quite some time. I discuss my vision with them. We're not even talking about website. I'm just discussing my vision, how I see things, what things do I like, right? What business do I want to have? We're just talking about business concepts. And then a couple of days later, when it came to creating my website, I just came to Claude and said, based on everything you already know about me, what website do you think will suit my business best? And he created an amazing page. Just amazing. Also, he went ahead, above and beyond, and he even created some tweaks and things on that website that I couldn't even think about them, If I were doing that manually, if I was doing that by hands from my own head, I would never have done that. That would have never come to my mind to create those things like that, those features on the website like that. I feel like I'm rambling right now, but okay, I need to finish it. I think I will explore this approach more. It's not vibe coding as it is, it's not pure vibe coding. It's not giving instructions to large language model. It's creating something from your vision, and it felt absolutely different, and the result was amazing, and it's a little bit of different approach, and I felt that quality of that was much higher than of all the kind of products that I vibe coded before that. I do think that everybody should use AI right now. It really is a new way of living, is a new way of thinking, and as I have said, if you can beat it, lead it. There is no way of escaping that. As Taylor Swift said, look what you made me do, right? It was fun talking to you about it. I'm glad I get it all out, and it's an important topic to discuss. So let me know what you think about AI. Let me know, how do you use AI right now? What are your thoughts on your profession, on the impact of AI in the world, and whatever. What language model are you using? So share your thoughts. I'd be happy to chat with you in the comments, and I hope this video was helpful for everybody. Even if you haven't used AI before, I hope you will start doing it right now. Otherwise, are these memories increasing in price for nothing? Yeah. So, yeah, thank you for being here with me, and subscribe to my channel if you like rambling IT people about IT topics. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye!